All right, what is going on, y'all? This is once again Full Circle Podcast, hosted by none other than your favorite brother, Joseph. I'm so glad that y'all are tuning in today. Today, we are going to be talking about the NBA playoffs in the East. You notice I almost pointed left. That's the West. That might be your right if you're watching on the screen. But we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs going on in the East, right? Breaking down some of those matchups for what we're seeing right now. I did mention to y'all a little bit, I think last episode when we were talking, I mentioned to y'all about what's going on in the West, some of the breakdowns from that, and I also gave you my personal picks for who I believe will win or who at least will come out of the first round, right? Today, I want to do that exact same thing for the Eastern Conference of basketball, kind of break down what's going on right now, the teams that I think have the most to the most to lose, essentially, and the teams that I think that are just clicking on all cylinders and will be coming out of this. So stay tuned for that. Before I do that, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. As I mentioned last time, we've got people listening all over the world, people listening in the Middle East, people listening in Europe, people listening in South America. Man, I wouldn't be, if I ever see we have a listen from Antarctica, I'm going to be blown away. But once again, still appreciate every time you guys tune in. So if you're listening to this, if this has been shared with you by a friend or you stumbled across it, hit that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe button, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. We're going to be posting more of the episodes on YouTube, so stay tuned for that. And as I always say, it is free to support a nigga. It is so free unless you want to do more. So feel free to lock in and get involved with that. I always appreciate it. Guests are coming soon. I know I've been saying this for a long time. It's just scheduling and getting everybody's stuff together. Also, coming up soon, I am going to talk about the movie Sinners. That movie was incredible, okay? Ended up taking a look at some of the trailers for the film, and I wasn't really sure what it was all about, but I was really, really blown away by the film. I think that it's something that we need to have more films like this being made in the culture, and I think that it's going to be something very, very important moving forward. So we'll get into that at some point. I do want to talk to y'all about the movie Sinners, probably on another episode. I definitely want to have a friend of mine come on and break that down with me, but I promise guests are coming soon. Okay, diving right in. So this is what we're looking at right now, and I'm just going to pull up some of my thoughts on this here. But listen, right now, these are the matchups, rather. So we've got Cleveland versus Miami, right? Cleveland being the number 1 seed, Miami being the 8th seed. Cleveland has had an incredible year this year in the league. Regular season, they have completely shifted where they were. Obviously, they were up and coming. You have Donovan Mitchell was on that team. Evan Mobley. And you've got some of the newer guys. They ended up getting DeAndre Hunter in the midseason trade. And then, of course, with Miami, Jimmy Butler ended up going to Golden State, my team. Very, very proud, if you can't tell already. And so what ends up happening is that Miami fought their way through the play-in, which, by the way, I had mentioned on the last episode, just for clarity. In the Western Conference, I had said about the Grizzlies going through the first round. That was my bad. I meant to talk about the play-in tournament. They are in the first round now against It appears like they're going against the Thunder. I don't think that they're going to do very well in that series, but that's where things are standing right now. So just to give some clarity on that. Back to this here. What we're looking at in this playoff series, Cleveland completely steamrolled Miami the other night, 121-100. Donovan Mitchell dropped 30 points. Of course, Ty Jerome had 28 off the bench. It was just, it was a complete spanking. They got spanked. Let's just be real. Let's call it what it is. The thing that I think is really, really beneficial here is that the Cavaliers are showing consistency, okay? And that's all that you can ask for a team that, in many ways, people thought that after the disappearance, or the departure, not the disappearance, the departure of LeBron James after going to join the Lakers, many people thought that it would be a long time before the Cavaliers would see some sort of growth. But right now, they're showing a lot of consistency and focus. I think the only downside to what I'm seeing from the Cavs is, and it's very, very minimal here, the only downside is they don't have a lot of experience. They've got tons of youth. They've got tons of energy. They have tons of consistency. But the question is going to become, can they actually sustain this and take it all the way to the finals and then beat whoever comes out of the West? And so that, of course, is something to be seen. But if we're just looking at everything right now in this current, light and way of things that exist, they've got improved wing defense with DeAndre Hunter. And it looks like Ty Jerome and Okoro specifically, they have been stepping up. Of course, you have the interior presence with Mobley and Allen, Jared Allen getting stuff done as well. And so right now, what they're going to have to focus on is a little bit more tighter three-point consistency. I know that it's not always the easiest thing depending on what the strengths of your team are. But if they can consistently knock down shots from three-point range, that will definitely put them at an even easier, or put them in an even easier position in this first round. So that is something really important. And then, of course, I think you have to really protect Donovan Mitchell. And right now they are heavily relying on him offensively. So it's going to be really important to make sure they move all that around and give the team what they need. But right now, the Cavs look as good as ever. And when it comes to Miami, Miami, I never count the Miami Heat out. Obviously, when Jimmy Butler was on that team, we saw how Jimmy Butler took a very, very underwhelming, essentially understaffed Miami Heat team to the finals on two different occasions. Of course, they lost on those two different occasions. But, Eric Spoelstra's got a great coaching style there, a great winning mentality. So right now, what I'm looking at as an advantage for Miami, Eric Spoelstra is a master when it comes to the playoffs, especially when it comes to matchups. You obviously can't cheat your lineup, right? Like you can't magically cheat your players to be better than other players, right? Like you can't cheat matchups. It's very, very clear to the eye, and also the stat sheet doesn't lie. And so they're going to have to find a way to get that done. The benefit is that you've got Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is an offensive juggernaut. And then, of course, Bam Adebayo is an incredible two-way force on offense and on defense. So with Tyler Hero being able to heat up on any other night, no pun intended, heat up, there you go. With him being able to do that, I do think that stands as a plus for Miami. And the fact that they even were able to score, 100 points in that game, which is a very tough game, it just shows how much they bring a lot of heart and a lot of heat. There you go. They bring a lot of heat to the game as well. I think the only downside of it is, of course, it's very, very evident that Jimmy Butler is no longer on that team and that he is missing. And so they are going to have to create shots from their wing players. And they've got to find a way to get a leader out there who is vocal, because Jimmy Butler was a galvanizing force on that team. And, of course, we can see that over here in the case of what's happening in Golden State with Jimmy Butler being there. So right now, this is definitely Cleveland's. I do believe that Cleveland is going to take this one. We'll see what happens, of course. But, just got to say that objectively. Moving on right now, let's go take a look at what's happening over in Boston and their face-off with Orlando. Right now, they had game one in which Boston won 103-86. The thing is that was crazy about that game, Derek White hit 7 threes and drop 30 points. So that's absolutely crazy because Derek White, in many ways for them, has been so much of an asset. And the Boston Celtics, of course, when you have Jaylen Brown and you have Jason Tatum, obviously that duo. Can't believe I almost blanked on that name. Of course, I know who Jaylen Brown is. But when you have that duo combined together, obviously they're having a tremendous amount of impact. Now, right now, something to keep in mind at this particular time, if we're looking on the Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero scored 36 points in that defeat. So it's obviously a type of a series where, once again, Boston, they are the defending champions, right? They are trying to put their stamp on this game. They're trying to put their stamp on these playoffs very early and show everybody, hey, we're still a force to be reckoned with. Our rosters barely change. We're not going anywhere. You got to go through us. And so for the Celtics, they've got an elite starting five. There's no doubt about it. Their defenders are deep. They can play both ends and do so very, very well. And, you know, Joe Mazzulla is an incredible coach. We just can't debate the fact that that team, no matter whether they go to the finals or not this year, they are set in the East to be a playoff and finals contender, championship contender for years and years to come, you know, barring anything changing, barring, you know, the team being blown up or one of the superstars going somewhere else, right? And so the only thing that I would say in this particular time is they just got to make sure, obviously, keeping an eye on those injuries. Last I had looked into this, Porzingis was definitely on injury watch, and of course they've got to focus on knocking down those 3-point shots, because being very, very heavily reliant on the three, which, trust me, I understand this as a Warriors fan. When you make them, it's amazing. When you miss them, it costs you. And so knowing how to balance those two things out, as well as, you know, continuing to attack the interior, as well as good ball distribution, I think those are going to be some really, really powerful, you know, things for them to lean into as they go further into this series, and of course as they continue onward. When it comes to the Orlando Magic, I think Banchero is incredible. He's blossoming. He's showing his consistency. They obviously have length. They have defensive energy as a team. They are the underdogs, and you can tell they are playing with that mindset. They have something to prove, and they want to continue to do so. But the thing about the Magic is they're just terribly inexperienced right now. And it's really, really hard to get any sort of consistent shot creation or offensive movement outside of Banchero. And so it's streaky. The shooting is streaky from deep. You know, but like I said, they are playing with all they have, and they're doing the best that they can. And so I do believe this is going to be an interesting series to watch, just because of the fact that you're watching the team blossom in, you know, Orlando Magic. You're watching their potential blossom, but it's fairly self-evident that Boston has the upper hand here, and for them to lose would be based off of some grand error or absolute incompetent coaching. So, yeah, I think Boston's going to take this one. Fairly self-evident there, but it is always great to watch the teams that are developing, and we're going to obviously continue to monitor that as the playoffs continue. Next, I want to talk about the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. Right now, that series is tied 1-1. I believe it's the only series in the East currently where 2 games have been played so far. Of course, the games that I just mentioned to you, or the other teams that I just mentioned to you, they're playing some games tonight. The Knicks won 123-112 in game 1, and then the Pistons bounced back with 194. Right now, of course, we cannot dismiss the fact that outstanding in that game was Cade Cunningham. Sneaky backdoor cuts, great offensive IQ, ball movement, and of course ensuring on the defensive end that they recovered a lot of rebounds and getting opportunities to steal. Dennis Schroeder had 20 points. Cade Cunningham at 33. Of course, the Knicks got Karl Anthony Towns from the Timberwolves during the trade, and then the Pistons got Tobias Harris from the 76ers, and that has definitely helped Cade Cunningham's effort, as well as Dennis Schroeder being traded from the Warriors as well during the midseason. One thing that I definitely want to point out that I have been seeing, and it's absolutely incredible to me, is Jalen Brunson's absolute elite playmaking ability and his ability to lead the floor well. He leads the floor well. He shot creates pretty much from anywhere he wants. He's crafty. He's patient. And then with Karl Anthony Towns stretching the floor, you now get opportunities for pretty much anybody who's open. Like, you got Josh Hart out here. You've got OG Anunoby doing his thing. You've got great bench energy coming from DiVincenzo. You're really seeing all of the cylinders starting to move. Everything is starting to turn the way it's supposed to. So I think that's really beautiful to see. And the Knicks in that game, in both games, really. But the Knicks, what I really saw from them in that last game, even though they lost, they brought a really, really strong level of focus with, of course, Karl Anthony Towns helping to deliver. But Jalen Brunson, a standout performance coming off of an injury, even to start these playoffs. He's showing no signs of slowing down. And so the only concern I would say is, can Karl Anthony Towns bring that playoff consistency? That's what we're going to have to look to see. Of course, we're not even that deep into the playoffs yet. When the second unit usually comes in, sometimes they stop rebounding as efficiently. So I'm hoping that they can clear and clean that up. And that's just much to be seen. But right now they look very, very strong. The Pistons are looking to make a statement. They are not going to lose this one or leave out of this one without a fight. And so what you see is Cade Cunningham. He's stepping into a role as that franchise leader, with Schroeder and Tobias Harris giving that veteran not only grit and energy, but also they see things on the court that some of the younger players may not be able to see. So also that on-court coaching, as well as that, the coaching from J.B. Bickerstaff, who is the coach of that team, that also is going to be very much of a benefit for them. The young core is fighting for every possession on the Pistons team, and you can tell they have a point to prove. They want people to respect them, especially since they've been out of the conversation. This is their first playoff series, I believe, since 2008. So, good Lord, you definitely can tell they are trying to make a statement. They are still lacking spacing on the floor when Cade Cunningham is sitting, so that's something that they are going to have to open up for an opportunity more. And closing games has been a really, really big issue for the Pistons, with them being prone to turn the ball over under pressure and struggling sometimes to keep control. When the game is starting to get away from them. But I do believe that in this particular series, I think that I'm going to give the edge to the Knicks, but I do believe that if Karl Anthony Towns, if he doesn't show up and is not consistent, I do believe that this could very, very potentially turn into a Pistons win. I'm still going to give the Knicks a little bit of an edge here, but yeah, I think it's very, very possible it could go either way. We'll, of course, continue to monitor that and let you guys know. And then finally, what we're going to talk about over here, we've got the Indiana Pacers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And listen, right now, with that first game that they had, of course, the Pacers leading 1-0, they rolled up, scored 117 points, with the Bucks scoring 98. Pascal Siakam had 25 points, 7 boards. Milwaukee, of course, was missing Damian Lillard, who's been dealing with a blood clot situation. Apparently, they're saying it's going to be kind of a game-to-game thing for him. He is expected to play. The Pacers got Pascal Siakam, and then the Bucks, of course, kept everybody. But right now, it's just been injuries and chemistry that's been the biggest thing for them. What I want to point out that I saw as a benefit, you have Halliburton, right, playing on this team. He's got great pace. He's got an incredible ability to play make. And then Pascal Siakam also brings former playoff experience. So you're having that blend. It's definitely going to help you to get a little bit in rhythm. It's going to help you to not necessarily feel like you have to rush. And, from what you saw last year with the Pacers were very, very close to moving on to the next round. So this stability that Pascal Siakam helps to bring, I believe, can be a great benefit to them. Their ball movement is incredible. They're very fluid offensively. They're allowing themselves more opportunities to not only space the floor and get open, but also attack the rim. So I think that this is going to be an opportunity for the Pacers to once again put themselves down as a team, a force to be reckoned with, and I'm really excited to see that. The only downside for them is, as I mentioned before, they're still finding playoff rhythm, and they are still a young core. That's not a bad thing. But, of course, as a series goes longer, as you get into a stretch, that experience combined with, youth tends to take teams over the top. And right now, the Pacers mostly just have youth and energy. So, we'll see what happens where that's concerned. But, I've got high hopes for them. Even if they don't win this time around, I feel like the Pacers, we're going to start hearing from them in the Eastern Conference, if not this year, then in the next couple of years to come. Right now, where the Bucks are concerned, this is a huge series for them. Obviously, Giannis is still Giannis. Giannis can do whatever he pretty much wants, especially once he arrives in the paint. Especially with his size, his ability to, really not only draw fouls, but his ability to get to the rim and to dominate in the paint. So obviously that's a major plus. The question mark here is really Damian Lillard. Can Damian Lillard come back off of this injury, of course, being out, and can he contribute? Is that chemistry going to be seen? Those are questions that we're still waiting for answers for. But, if Damian Lillard can do that efficiently and effectively, I think that the Bucks will have a chance. Brook Lopez is still a strong anchor, especially in the paint. And so that is obviously a plus because it can free up Giannis to do more. And it can obviously free up the team to find other options. I think that the only downsides I'm seeing, of course, we mentioned Damian Lillard's health. But I think that they've had a lack of defensive identity, especially with the changes of coaches or changes of coaching. And then Chris Middleton just doesn't look as he doesn't look as energetic as he usually has before. So I think that's just the only thing that I would say are some concerns of mine in looking at some of this stuff. Right now, I think if Lillard's not 100% healthy, then it's very, very possible that Indiana can take this series. Right now I'm giving Indiana the edge just because of the fact that, Damian Lillard's a question mark for me, as well as the other performances of, people like Middleton. But if they can shore that up, if they can step up, and if they can change it, it's anybody's game. So for this one, as I said before, I'm going to give the Pacers a little bit of an edge here. Giannis is still Giannis. Can't show disrespect there. But I do believe that, it's really, really difficult to be that type of guy, night in and night out, and not get any of that help and assistance, no matter how incredible you are. But once again, it's yet to be seen, right? What I'm going to go ahead and do here right now, I'm going to go ahead through every single matchup and tell you who I think is going to who's going to come out of the first round in the East. So, Cleveland Cavaliers versus Miami Heat. I'm giving Cleveland the edge here. Probably pretty obvious for you. I just think that they've got so much of an advantage. They're a young team, they're energetic, and they've got a tremendous coach, and they're consistent. So I'm going to give them the edge there. Boston Celtics versus Orlando Magic. Very clearly, I'm going to say Boston Celtics. Orlando is on their way. They're developing. They're not quite there yet. They need to keep working. And then New York Knicks versus Detroit Pistons. I'm going to give the edge right now to the New York Knicks, but Detroit is giving them a run for their money, and it's anybody's game. So I'm going to be watching that one tightly. Still going to give New York the edge. And then finally, in the case of Indiana Pacers versus Milwaukee Bucks, I'm giving the edge to Indiana. But once again, can Giannis pull it off? Can Dame give us something impressive? It waits to be seen. We'll see what happens. What do you think? Who do you think is going to come out of the first round of the Eastern Conference matchups, let me know at _full_circle_pod or on TikTok at @full_circle_pod. Next time when I come on here, we are going to talk about the film Sinners. Went and watched that movie twice actually last week. Watched it once, and then of course ended up watching it with a group of people from my acting class. Really took a deep dive into some of the themes in it, but it was a very impactful film. A lot of people are saying this is Michael B. Jordan's best performance. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. And I also want to talk about just the themes that I found present in the movie, especially related to race, culture, creativity, the church, and the influence that the church lost on music because of their preconceived notions about the style of blues and just how it's all had an impact. So please stay tuned for that episode. That is all the time I have for today. I want to thank y'all for listening. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, share this with a friend, and as I love to say, have a great one from your favorite brother. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.